Fifi Mangaka here. The story structure that we're about to talk about today is one of the most difficult structures you could possibly choose to write, you brave soul. It's an emotional arc based on tragedy, and you have to wonder why one would choose to write a story that will leave the audience in complete shambles by the end. Today, we're talking about the legendary Oedipus plot archetype. And I hope after this video, you challenge yourself to use this story structure in your next story, though I won't blame you if you don't. Oedipus is a narrative plot structure that follows the pattern of the fall, rise, fall. And it's based on a Greek play, not a happy one, called Oedipus Rex by Sophocles. So, what makes the Oedipus narrative plot archetype so incredibly challenging? Well, it's a structure commonly found in Greek tragedies and follows a distinct pattern, a roller coaster of events that takes us from an initial ascent to a downfall, a temporary resurgence, and ultimately another devastating fall. It's very hard to get this right because nobody, well, at least not the majority, prefer a story where everything just goes terribly wrong most of the time. Let's get into it. We start this narrative arc structure with the first fall. The protagonist in the Oedipus narrative arc usually starts at the top. This could be wealth, this could be social status, but they start somewhere at the top, because they're gonna need a high place to fall down from for the first stop in this plot structure. In the Oedipus Greek play, Oedipus starts as a revered and prosperous king, living a life that most could only dream of. But as cruel fate would have it, catastrophic events and revelations unfold, thrusting him into a state of crisis and triggering the initial fall. In Oedipus's case, it's a plague that befalls his land and a chilling prophecy which states he must go kill the old king of his land in order to get rid of that plague. The impact of the tragedy in the initial fall is important. It's gonna set everything else in motion. So you want to start from a low point, but as an author, you need to be prepared to get even lower. Next comes the rise. Despite the initial adversity presented in the first fall, our protagonist rises to meet these challenges head-on. Fueled by some kind of desire to rectify the situation or to regain their former glory, they devise a plan to deal with the adversity or embark on a quest to conquer it. This resurgence is marked by determination, courage, unwavering resolve, all the heroic things that we know. Oedipus, driven by the prophecy's promise of salvation to his people, sets off on a perilous journey to kill the old king and bring peace to his land, which he does, and thankfully, the nasty plague disappears. The rise is exactly as it sounds. Things should be looking up for our protagonist, and the tone of this arc should be positive. The audience should kind of feel like the doom and gloom of the initial fall may finally be a thing of the past. That is, until the second fall, which really brings any notion of positivity to a screeching halt. Yes, this narrative structure is not very kind to your readers. The second fall in the Oedipus plot structure is the ultimate downfall for the main protagonist. The narrative takes a tragic turn as the protagonist's triumph crumbles under the weight of unforeseen consequences to their quest, or maybe even their own personal flaws. It's really like watching a slow-motion train wreck. The realization of a hidden truth or misstep in judgment sets off a chain reaction, leading to their epic fall. Oedipus's world is shattered when he discovers that the old king that he killed to free his people of the plague was actually his own father. And to make matters worse, he had a taboo relationship with the old king's wife, who happens to be his mother. It completely unravels his life, catapulting him into the depths of tragedy. The initial fall is compounded by the final, irrevocable fall, plunging Oedipus into a state of irredeemable suffering and anguish, and I will spare you the details of exactly how bad it gets in this play. It's a gut-wrenching moment, and that's exactly the intent of the impact of the final fall in the Oedipus plot archetype structure. So why on earth should you bother using this absolutely miserable plot structure? Well, I'll tell you. First of all, the Oedipus plot archetype embodies the essence of tragedy. It's really a masterful dance between the heights of fortune and the depths of despair. By embracing this narrative structure, you'll have the opportunity to tap into the profound emotions that tragedy typically evokes. Yes, tragedy is a very hard genre to write in. It's difficult to do well because you can wind up with a lot of salty readers. But when done well, it tends to be one of the most culturally impactful genres that you could choose to write your story in, whether it's a comic, a classic novel, or whatever your vessel is for your tale. The next thing is, I think you can really challenge yourself as a writer by using difficult narrative arc structures like this. Look, the Oedipus plot archetype is absolutely no walk in the park. It requires a lot of planning, careful character development, and really precise execution to make sure you hit the correct beats. But isn't that what excites us as storytellers? I think you should embrace the challenge and push your boundaries to write something you never have before, no matter what your mechanism is. Lastly, I think the most important power of the Oedipus archetype is you can leave a lasting impact on your readers. Great stories resonate with audiences long after they've experienced them. By incorporating the Oedipus plot archetype into your narrative, you can create a tale that lingers in the minds and hearts of your own audience. It's a chance to leave a lasting impact, spark a lot of dialogue and conversations, and get your audience talking long after they've read your story. And that's what creates real cultural impact with the tales that you want to tell. Ultimately, the Oedipus plot archetype is just marred with negativity and tragedy, but there are lots of lessons to be learned in stories that follow this. Interestingly enough, there were a lot of studies that were done over plot archetypes and structures, and believe it or not, this one ranks as one of the most popular. So, though it's difficult to write, there is a really good payoff in telling a good story with this narrative structure. Well, folks, that's about it for today. I hope you really enjoyed this story on the Oedipus plot structure, and I hope maybe you challenge yourself to write something with this structure and let me know how that goes for you. If you think there are any archetypes that are a bit more challenging or difficult to write than this one, drop them in the comments below. I'm really curious. If you liked this video and you want to support the channel and my manga Yellow Treehouse, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I talk about lore, literature stuff, character design, everything in between as I create my own story. And I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!